Welcome to the Minnesota Rovers Tuesday evening presentation. Minnesota Rovers is an outdoors club based in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Our members organize trips that range from 1 hour to 2 weeks in Minnesota or further afield. Examples of our activities include hiking, biking, backpacking, skiing, snowshoeing, paddling, and rock climbing. We also organize conservation and trail clearing trips. Our members have experience and skills in many outdoor activities, so if you want to learn a new outdoor activity, we can probably help you. For more information, go to mnrovers.org. Now let's move on to this week's presentation.
Tonight you're here to learn about the Border Road Trail. Tonight's presenter, Pam Tavernier, was raised on a west central Illinois farm surrounded by fields of corn and soybeans. After retiring from the medical world and moving to the Twin Cities, she has found many new adventures, including trail maintenance. She has participated in and co-led 6 maintenance trips over the past 3 years. Somehow, the trail maintenance trips led to a position on the BRTA board, first as marketing director and now as president. There's still much she needs to learn, but Pam wants to share information about the Border Route Trail and encourage others to become involved so that the trail lives on for our future generations. So please join me now in welcoming Pam Tavernier.
I'd like to welcome everyone to this presentation, The Border Route Trail. It is not a walk in the park. Full disclosure, I do not know everything there is to know about the Border Route Trail. I'm pretty new to Minnesota and the hiking world, and I'm continuing to learn. What I do wish to share is this wonderful treasure that's in the northern part of Minnesota that I've become familiar with by volunteering on trail maintenance trips. I am going to ask that questions and/or corrections are put in the chat, and they will be addressed and/or saved for the end of the presentation. First, I want to share photos of why one would fall in love with the Border Route Trail. The pictures in this presentation and a lot of information have been shared to me by Gary Carlson, Bob Jarvis, who's the Border Route Trail historian, Brian Hansen, Larry Quinn, Norm Smith, and myself. The Border Route Trail is a 65-mile-long hiking trail that crosses the Boundary Water Canoe area in the far northeast corner of Minnesota and follows the international border between Minnesota and Ontario, Canada. Most of the trail is within the Superior National Forest. And the Border Route Trail Association was incorporated in 2004 to coordinate the maintenance and increase public awareness of the trail. Volunteers and partner relationships are the way that the trail continues to exist. The Border Route Trail Association mission: go boldly where no man has gone before. Just checking to see if you're still with me, because our real mission statement is a little bit less exciting: to construct and maintain non-motorized trails for public use. To that end, we train volunteers in layout, aesthetics, and practicality, construction techniques, maintenance, safety, tool use, ecology, and general wood skills. With the 2019 congressional approval of the North Country Trail Route Adjustment Act, the Border Route Trail is also officially designated as part of the larger North Country National Scenic Trail. This is a long-distance hiking trail that stretches from Vermont to North Dakota. And this piece of legislation is also referred to as the Arrowhead Reroute, which begins in the Chippewa National Forest southwest of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and heads northeast towards Ely. It then follows the Kekakovik Trail and Border Route Trail, before becoming contiguous with the Superior Hiking Trail, for 310 miles along the north shore of Lake Superior's southwestern tip. The Pigeon River High Cliffs is in this picture, which is in Canada. South Fowl Lake is north of this cliff. And this double rainbow was along the Border Route Trail when I was walking towards Bridal Falls in the fall of October 2021. This is Portage Brook, viewed from a bridge on the Border Route Trail. And this is one view of many of the trail. So the Border Route Trail history starts in the early 1970s. Next slide. The story begins in the fall of 1970 when a group of Minnesota rovers began discussing the lack of backpacking trails in Minnesota. One member of the group had been doing some bushwhacking off the north side of Eagle Mountain near Grand Marais and had found the remains of an old footpath. A Fisher map revealed a route continuing north and west to Brule Lake. The route had not been maintained for 20 years. Permission was sought and received from the U.S. Forest Service to reopen the route to hikers. The dreaming and scouting expeditions were sent out before the trail construction could begin. This is in the Rose Cliffs area. The first organized trip was over Memorial Day weekend in 1971. The man in front is Ed Solstead. He's kneeling down in front with his chainsaw. And Ed is considered one of the founders of the Border Route Trail. In the early years of trail construction, the chainsaws weighed 35 pounds, and the hand tools that were used were machetes and Sven saws, which I am not Swedish, so that's a mouthful for me. The materials had to be carried in by foot. This group is portaging to Bridal Falls. And this picture is some of the first logs that were going over Portage Brook. This is just a fun photo op picture. There's 6 rovers in here playing around on this Osgood front shovel, which was then operated by the Cook County Highway Department. And no, they did not use it to build the trail. And this photo shows a measuring wheel. This is a tool that's used to measure and map the trail. This is an example of one of the early bridges. And this photo, 8.5 years, many thousands of hours of labor later, a ribbon cutting ceremony on the south rim overlooking Gunflint Lake was held. The Border Route Trail had been completed except for a dispute over the right-of-way across private land between Gunflint and Loon Lakes. In 1992, Eve Blankenberg donated this critical piece of land, which permitted them to bridge the missing link in the fall of 1993. The main line of the Border Route Trail was substantially complete by 1981, so approximately 10 years of work. If you build it, you have to maintain it. In the early 1980s, this Greyhound bus owned by John Elliott provided a mode of transportation for trail maintenance trips. Trail maintenance, the maintenance of the trail is never really done. Winter weather, spring storms, flooding, fires are all factors that affect this trail. This is a picture of Stump River Bridge after a flood. It was fixed in one day. And in 2002, volunteers here are extending the Portage Route Bridge, and a DNR helicopter brought in the supplies for this trip. This shows bridge construction at Bridal Falls. And here's one of the methods of carrying in the supplies. The Border Route Trail's a total of 65 miles, and it's broken into two parts. There's the wilderness and then there's the non-wilderness. The west end of the non-wilderness trail is approximately 16 to 17 miles. The east end is approximately 13 miles. So the wilderness section's in the middle, and it's around 35 miles. I'll be talking first about the non-wilderness section, which is what I'm more familiar with because the trips I've participated in have been in the non-wilderness section. So it's kind of through my eyes. The Border Route Trail is maintained by volunteers. The volunteers are essential to the trail. Prior to my move to Minnesota, I had no idea that the trails were maintained by volunteers. So these maps are great. So this is the eastern end of the Border Route Trail. So in the far right corner is where it's the eastern terminus, and it connects to the Superior Hiking Trail. And it comes along for approximately 13 miles until you hit the Boundary Waters. This is where our second spring maintenance trip is planned. The western side of the Border Route Trail connects to the Kakavik, goes by Magnetic Rock, Gunflint Lake, and it's about 17 miles. And this is where our first maintenance trip is going to be this spring. And this is if all the weather goes well. The next several pictures will show some, but not all of the volunteers that have come on our trail maintenance trips. This is the first trip that I went on in May of 2021. There was only 6 of us. Second trip, a few more people. This was in May also. In October of 21, we actually had about 15 volunteers, I believe. On this trip, I decided to do a poll and asked everyone that would give me their age what it was, because I was noticing a trend, and our average age was 65. There's a lot of reasons for this. Some have been enjoying and doing trail work for years and are continuing to do it. Some now have the time because they're retired. Younger volunteers have a more limited time because they're working, or perhaps they have young families. But the fact of the matter is we need more young people. This trip is through May of 2022. Then our next group was in August of 2022. And summer is not usually a preferred time to do trail maintenance due to the bugs and the heat. The bridges needed repaired, which necessitated getting into the water. So we preferred it to be a little bit warmer. And then in May of 2023, we started our day with a lot of rain, but luckily it stopped by noon. But it did make for some slick conditions on the trail. So what do trail crew members need to bring for a weekend trail maintenance trip on the non-wilderness trips? These are trips that have a base camp, and we go out every day from that base. So you'll need your own camping supplies, your tent, your sleeping bag, etc. It wouldn't hurt to have your own compass and a map, a day pack, food for your lunch, any snacks you want, water bottle, Gatorade, electrolyte drink of your choice. Don't forget your medications. rain gear, boots, extra pair of dry shoes, warm coat, lighter coat, bug spray, lotion. Considered some use of Promethean on clothing, sunscreen, towel and various toiletries, extra toilet paper, your own utensils, plates, bowl, water bottle, cup, fork, spoon, and knife. And on our maintenance trips, we will provide the breakfasts and dinners. Those are the ones, these are the trips that Gary and I do. We also bring the Garmins and first aid kits. To be on this trip, physically, you need to be in good health to the best of your knowledge and be able to walk at least 5 miles in one day with a pack and doing physical work. This is a remote area, and advanced emergency services would be delayed if a medical emergency happens. On our trips, on the non-wilderness side, we have a base camp. This is kind of what they look like. Our base camps are like at McFarland Lake, Cross River, Otter Lake. Some have brought their campers, and on occasion, some have actually stayed at a resort nearby. Essential operations. Remember, I was new to this kind of stuff, and I was taught the trail maintenance, the etiquette for the biffy or the throne in the forest. So the red coffee can is empty of coffee, and it has toilet paper in it. So the deal is you pick it up, you take it back with you, use the throne, and then when you're done, you bring it back and put it. So hopefully nobody's gonna disturb you because you know how it works. This is what the throne looks like in the woods. No walls, new experience. But after a while, I decided, this is the most beautiful bathroom ever because you have birds singing and you have the rustling of leaves, and that's fun. Some of us do have a sense of humor. This is why you bring extra toilet paper, because like at the Biffy at McFarland, they ran out of toilet paper. These are thimbleberry leaves. Each day starts out with a safety meeting and a planned route. Both are a big deal. And depending on the size of the group, members are divided into teams, depending on experience and skill set. The individuals in the groups need to stay together within eyesight. Next slide. So this is an example of what a sawyer would look like. There are several jobs done by the volunteers that work on the trail. 2 of the main jobs are done by sawyers and swampers. The chainsaw operators are the sawyers, and they need to be certified. They wear chaps that need to be proper size and length, hearing protection, a helmet with shield or safety glasses and goggles, day pack, gloves, long sleeve shirt, no loose sleeves, and leather boots. The chainsaw operator should always be within sight of somebody with wilderness first aid training. The swampers assist a sawyer by pulling the limbs and wood away from the immediate work area before and after the chainsawing is done, which allows for safer cutting and chainsaw operation. Other members of the volunteer team will be using brush cutters, lobbers, handsaws, carry the fuel for the chainsaws, or carry the posts for installing the signs. It really depends on the condition of the trail, on what work needs to be done. The sawyer only works on deadfalls. They do not fell trees. And just one other interesting tidbit on chainsaws that I saw, which I need to do more research, but they said the chainsaw was not originally developed for trees, but for childbirth. And because I'm a retired nurse and I have worked OB, I find this horrifying. Next slide. Always think safety. You must keep your distance from the mechanized equipment when it's running. Okay, Stacy, you're one ahead of me. Okay, thank you. And part of trail maintenance has been putting up the signage to mark the trail better. So this sign, the very first sticker on top, it's the Border Route Trail. Next one is the North Country Trail, which we're an affiliate of. Then we don't want ATVs or snowmobiles on this trail. This is a Border Route Trail constructed base plate to affix the signage to the billion-year-old bedrock. We found it was not an easy task. And here they're installing the National Park Service Carson post. It's not been easy. So sometimes one has to improvise for stability. We also tried a cart to help pull the equipment around. On some parts of the trail it worked well, other parts of the trail it was more difficult. On the non-wilderness section, we can do blue blazes. So this is a template that we use for the blue blazes, and we found that it really works well. A volunteer here is prepping the tree for the blue blazes by abrading the bark. We found the paint works a little bit differently on different trees. So on aspen and birch trees, the paint tends to run. So that's why we do a little bit of abrading. And this is what a blue blaze might look like. This volunteer is punching a hole for a carbonite post. This is not light to carry, maybe 15 pounds, might be a little bit more. And these volunteers have brush cutters. Note the condition of the trail when it's wet. I'm pretty sure this might be a trail head. And this shows the early spring conditions after a record snowfall. These volunteers are brush cutting the path through the thimbleberries in the fall. Another thing to keep in mind when working on the trail is that it's not a park. So sometimes on the first day, many are very enthusiastic at picking up every stick, every twig. But this is not sustainable, number one, and it is a wilderness trail. So not every twig and stick needs to be picked up. We update the kiosk at the trailheads. There's a there's a register to sign in, and please do if you're hiking on the trail. They're a lot of fun to read. The evenings will be cool, so be prepared. And sometimes things don't go right. We happened on this trip to have another billy goat in a trailer, so we had another tire for the billy goat. The billy goat works well on certain parts of the trail. It cuts and chops up the brush, but we don't always use them. And another thing about the trail maintenance work that I have found is the ingenuity and the teamwork of the members has just been so awesome. We lost a bolt on this tire and somebody suggested, let's use a vice grip. And it saved a day. It kept the tire on, and we were able to continue working and get it back to the trailer. We have lost an oil plug before, but it was found. Unfortunately, the oil, we didn't have a lot of extra oil with us. And something broke on this trailer. So we used carbide rock drill bits as wheel retaining pins, and that kept everything together. And sometimes you just have to sit down and re-examine the plan with the team, whether it's working, do we go on, or do we need to turn around? And on one trip, our equipment trailer started dismantling itself. It made it to the destination, and it has since been repaired and is looking great. So major occurrences that can affect a trail. In May of 2022, Gunflint Lake flooded the county road at Cross River. The Ham Lake fire, which occurred in 2007, impacted the western portion of the Border Route Trail. There was a Border Route Trail there at the time, but they were evacuated safely. And this is what the trail in the area looks like in the aftermath of a fire. The trail is also affected by major natural disasters like the derecho of 1999, which was called the Big Blow. And that happened on July 4th weekend. And it just wreaked havoc on the Boundary Waters canoe area. And a couple of Octobers ago, there was also an unprecedented tornado, which took out a section of the trail in the Boundary Waters canoe area. So the deadfalls and the fires have changed those portions of the trail. The lack of tree canopy has promoted more brushy growth of alders, poplars, thimbles, and raspberries. There's also 2 good books you could read about these major events that occurred in the Boundary Waters. There are Gunflint Burning and Gunflint Falling, which are by Carrie Griffith. I've read the first one and I've just started the second one, Gunflint Falling. And they are historical books. And I haven't forgotten the wilderness section. The wilderness section is the Boundary Waters canoe area. I've not yet volunteered for a maintenance trip there. I was able to do the Boundary Waters last year on a 6-day trip with family, and it was great. But to get to the wilderness trails that you're going to be working on, you have to either hike in or canoe in with everything that you're going to need. That also means you're not going to use any mechanized equipment. No chainsaws, no brush cutters, no billy goat. So what do you use? You use 2-person crosscut saws, nippers, katana boys. There's also no signs and no blue blazes. So this is the Boundary Waters. This section that is showing is over around Clearwater Lake, which is on the left side, and Caribou, Jagobic Lake, West Pike Lake. And this section goes through Rose Lake, where the Rose Cliffs are, which is on my bucket list to go to. So these pictures were shared with me. These guys are using their saws to cut an impressive looking tree. And the mileage done on a wilderness maintenance trip is going to be a lot less than on the non-wilderness side. A 3-day Boundary Water trip may cover perhaps 3 miles. Whereas in a non-wilderness section, if we have enough people to do 3 teams, we may get 14 miles done in a weekend. It just depends on how things are going. And this just shows the width of that tree. Beautiful trail. And these guys look pretty happy considering they're not getting to use mechanized equipment. And the camaraderie in the evenings after a full day is good. But we usually end up going to bed at a really decent hour because we're tired. And so people hiking in. And sometimes the snow's not all gone. So the spring non-wilderness maintenance trips, our first one that Gary and I have organized is May 3rd to May 5th. And this trip will be on the west 17-mile section of the Gunflint Lake. And our second trip is May 17th to May 19th. And this trip will be on the east end of the Border Route Trail. There's also another trip, May 7th to Question Mark. It's a private trip, and that happens because some people have kind of adopted certain sections of the trail. And there may be some others pending on the non-wilderness side. And then on the wilderness section, Chris Fothergill is our wilderness section leader. So he's doing a trip May 10th to the 13th in the Clearwater Lake area. And we'll plan on canoeing in, working on 3 miles of the trail, and you bring your own food. May 12th to the 18th is the volunteer vacations. And this is going to be in the Clearwater Lake area also. And I believe the crew leader is Matt Davis. And I also think this trip is full. May 16th through the 19th, there's a trip on the west side of the Boundary Waters to Topper Lake. And the crew leader is Bob Westfall. You pack in and it's your own food. And May 23rd to 27th, the crew leader is John Taylor, and it's car camping at McFarland Lake, and then you head into the Boundary Waters from there. So there might be some on this call tonight that can answer more questions on the wilderness section if Chris is on or anybody. Next slide. So just a few more pictures. This is one of a lunch recharge. 15 minutes can make a big difference. Another scenic view. Next slide. This is something on the trail that I had never seen before, and this greenish blue color is found on rotting wood, and it's called green stain fungus, and it's caused by Chlorociboria, if I'm pronouncing it right, but it is absolutely amazing color. And this just shows new beginnings of life. So I've not seen a lot of animals on the maintenance trips. I imagine this is due to our noise factor, but I have seen a lot of evidence of the animals enjoying our trail. There's a lot of moose scat, wolf, coyote, bear, etc. There was one trip that we did get to witness a female moose with what appeared to be a recently born calf because his legs were a little wobbly. And this was at McFarland Lake. And this is a group hiking out at the end of the day, back to base camp. And this is an access road to the trail at South Fowl Lake. And here I think this was on the second maintenance trip that I went to, and we had a brief strong storm with some high winds. And the next day when we were going home, we had a couple trees blocking our way out, and I happened to be traveling with Sawyers. So we were able to clear the path. And on my presentation, I had taken this picture out, but you still have it. So on the left is what I might look like on a trail maintenance trip. And on the right is, I'm happy doing the work up there. And last picture. May the trail bring you what you're looking for on your journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. That was awesome.
Thank you. Are you ready to sign up?
Any questions for Pam?
I'd like to make a comment, if I may. So,
Sure.
Pam mentioned Kerry Griffith. So he is going to present to Rovers on April 9th at the hybrid meeting on his latest book, which is about the blowdown. So he's going to present about the blowdown. He did the gunflint burning before. So that's definitely something you should come to see. And I think he might be selling and signing some books at that presentation too. So April 9th, hybrid meeting.
Barry, I've heard him talk on February 1st at a BWAC annual meeting. I went there for my birthday to see how annual meetings are done. Anyway, and he's a great speaker. It'll be worth going to.
I do have a plug for the wilderness sections. I've done 3 or 4 of those, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Work, but it is a lot of fun kind of getting into the boundary waters and using some hand tools.
Yeah.
Pam, where can people go to sign up for the trips?
You can contact us through the Minnesota Rovers trip site for the ones Gary and I are leading. You can also go to our website, which is borderroutetrail.org, and meet up. I don't know, Chris, if you have yours posted yet?
Not yet. I plan to post the wilderness sections hopefully tomorrow. I'm kind of busy. I'm looking for an apartment and other stuff. I think I found one. So tomorrow I'll have more time to post the trips for the wilderness sections on the Minnesota Rovers website.
Okay, great. And we also post them on Meetup. So.
Is there a place where you can get maps for the trail?
There are. We've ordered some, and we will have those available. And that you also can get them through the North Country Trails website. And we're looking into some other options to make them available.
Do you need any permits to hike the trail?
You do in the boundary waters. I don't know about the non-wilderness section. I'm going to have to turf that out.
Only the wilderness sections within boundary waters you need a permit.
Okay.
Pam, there's a question in the chat about how do you get to be a leader?
Many of the leaders have kind of grown into it through experience over the years. And then depending on what job that you're doing, on what certifications you have to do. And also there are some crew leader training sessions. There's one coming up in April. I can't tell you the date right off the top of my head, but if you want to know that, I can email it to, you can contact me and I can email you.
Lots of comments in the chat about people are excited to go visit the trail. So hopefully you'll get some volunteers out of that, Pam.
We have quite a few signed up already, and hopefully we'll have more. It really is beautiful.
I'm kind of biased. It's the best trail in Minnesota.
I would agree. Um, and I've probably done all of the non-wilderness section in one way or the other on the maintenance trips. I just haven't done a through hike. I've not hiked the Border Route Trail for fun yet. I've only done it working.
If someone, Pam, wanted to actually go and backpack on it, do you guys have some routes or something on your website? Like for day trips or anything?
There is on our website for day trips, and we also have a Border Route Trail guidebook that's available on our website. It has a lot more, it has history and story to it also, so it's a good read. But it's on the website for borderroutetrail.org. And it's $15 plus shipping.
I see a question in the chat, Pam, from Chad, who's wondering on the Clearwater section, can you camp on the canoe campsites if they're open?
Yes, mine will be on the most western canoe campsite. And then the other one is going to be the one near the portage. So both of them will be at the canoeing campsite. And we're asking to see the Forest Service can reserve the campsites for us, kind of put a note reserved for trail crew. They've done that on the past at Crab Lake Cutoff for people going in Topper or Sauk, because there were some people working for Trail Center that's where they would live for the summer. And they would move their camps. So, but yeah, the 2 Clearwater trips be on canoe campsites.
Thank you, Chris.
I think we missed a couple questions back from Rochelle. It says, do you only have spring clearing trips or spring and fall? And what is the average trip length in days?
We usually do spring and fall. And it's usually a long weekend, starting on Friday morning, like at 8 o'clock, 8:30. It goes till Sunday at noon. Because it is, a long drive. A lot of people come from the Twin Cities. And so if they're working, they need to get back on Sunday. Chris, your day?
The wilderness tends to be 4 days. A day of travel tends to be on each end because we're either canoeing in or backpacking into the base camps. But generally work 2 days and then a day of travel on each end of the trip.
And I want to plug, so Allison Young did a snippet, and it aired today on KFAI, and it's on the history of the Border Route Trail, and Bob Jarvis was interviewed on that. And it can be found on the web and on that radio site. And it's just maybe 5 minutes long, but it turned out really nice. If you couldn't tell, this is my first presentation on Zoom. So
Nice job. Loved it.
thank you.
Thanks for watching this Minnesota Rovers presentation. If you want to see more, please click on the link to our channel or the subscribe button below. Thank you.